Hi, this is Jon Peterson, Executive Artistic Director of P3 Theater Company. Don't turn that dial. What I'm about to talk about is something you're going to want to hear about. We have this fantastic production called Funny Bōnz, the Humerus Solution. And if you want to hear more about how you can spend 2 hours of your life laughing your head off, watch this video. I first fell in love with sketch comedy back in 2005. I was cast in a show called Laughing Matters, which was a musical sketch comedy review show, much like Funny Bōnz. And it was really cool because I got to be in the inaugural cast of this show that ran for 9 years, and I got the full treatment with the 2 weeks of rehearsals, solid like 9 to 5, Monday to Friday type thing with the director, and it was we were workshopping it, and just getting to be involved in watching the process unfold with all of this really funny material that was a parody and satire on current events and all that type of thing. And at that point, having only done musical theater comedy or comedy on stage in a regular theatrical show, sketch comedy is a different style. It's a little more tongue-in-cheek, and it's kind of a little more relevant when the topics are topical. And that love for sketch comedy turned into an obsession over the 1.5 to 2 years that I worked with this show, because we put new material in it, we had new actors come into the mix from time to time, and it just was a lot of fun. You get a different response from your live audiences than you do from musical comedy like Oklahoma or any of those funny shows. It's a whole different thing. It's a lot more personal. There's that thing that's called the fourth wall, which you're not supposed to break in musicals and in plays, and that fourth wall is the wall that is between you and the audience. You get to you can have that type of interaction where you look at them in the eye and you're like a hyuk, kind of a thing. And I was obsessed with it. I mean, my life has become a sketch comedy because it's so much fun. I'm always the funny guy, so finding this niche in sketch comedy has been really a treat. Sketch comedy is a unique format in that it's not, like I've mentioned, your regular musical comedy. It's not improvisational comedy, because typically sketch comedy is scripted. But it is, in a musical comedy or in a play that's a comedy, there's a story. There are characters going on. There's a storyline that goes through the entire production. Improv is where you're kind of doing things on the fly. You're coming up with things that aren't scripted and developing a story in front of a live audience, or developing a skit, or whatever it is. And in sketch comedy, it's kind of... It's a little more, it touches on things that are, at least in this particular sketch comedy review, it touches on things that are happening in the here and now, but it is a very tongue-in-cheek look at it. You're a character, but you're not playing a character necessarily through a 2-hour play. It's almost more like a caricature of whatever the topic of that individual skit or musical song is. So you are making that connection with the audiences, as opposed to when you're in a play or a musical. You're again just telling this story, this plot. But the sketch comedy is a lot more tongue-in-cheek, if you will. Sketch comedy is good for the soul because it is basically a satirical or a parodical, is that a word? Parodical, parody, look at life. You take these real events in life that happen. Say you trip over something on the sidewalk that's really not there. That's something we've all done. You could write a song about that. And then somebody will sing this song in front of an audience, and everybody in the audience will be able to relate to something like that. and it's a humorous look at it, and it really, because we can relate to it, and because it's funny, it makes you laugh, and we all know that laughter is the best medicine for sure. So for sure, being able to laugh at anything in the world, I mean, even things that are maybe not funny, if you can take a look at it from a humorous perspective, we're all going to be able to relate to that and relate to the topic, and just maybe be a little less more stressed. As I've mentioned before, having worked with Laughing Matters, I developed this obsession with sketch comedy. And as the artistic director of P3 Theater Company, now presenting these Broadway class musicals and plays, I have a platform and an avenue in which I could bring this sketch comedy to our communities here locally. So having that opportunity now, and a demographic out there in the Long Beach and South Bay areas that need laughter in their lives, I just had to recreate what Laughing Matters was in Florida and bring it to our audiences out here, and bring laughter and joy into what in this day and age could really be considered a really not so fun world. Back in March 2020, which is a month that will go down in the history books, generations to come will be reading about that, I'm sure. P3 Theater Company, as well as all other theater companies and many businesses across the world, shut down. Well, I don't sit still very well, and many people don't, so I decided to try to bring some things to our virtual audiences. And one of the things that being virtual allowed us the opportunity to do was to bring this concept of Laughing Matters, the musical sketch comedy review show, to virtual audiences, and basically kind of try to see what the reaction would be. So what I did was I contacted some of the original cast members and the producers of Laughing Matters, who are now all living across the country, and we put a hybrid live and pre-recorded production of this new Funny Bōnz concept. This is something we wouldn't have been able to do with these key players that brought Funny Bōnz to the virtual stage, because we had cast members that lived in Fort Lauderdale, Dallas, Chicago, Orlando, Los Angeles. So we basically got all these people together with the different time zones. That was a lot of fun trying to work on scheduling all of our availability. But we created a virtual production of Funny Bōnz, the Humerus Solution. And I believe that aired on April 10th, 2021. That was kind of neat, really exciting, a whole different experience as a live stage actor to be in front of a green screen doing these comedy skits with people from all over the country, but I'm here by myself in my living room. It was a really cool experience. It was well received. We had a small but mighty virtual audience, and the feedback we got was great. So when restrictions started to lift and we were able to go to a live theater space, I had heard of this small thing called the Hollywood Fringe Festival, which was going to be back in action in August of 2021. And I thought, well, let's cast this show locally and take it to the Hollywood Fringe stage, which the Hollywood Fringe is really a good platform and avenue for new works of theater to be brought into the public to really get a live and in-person feel without having to put in thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into producing a show. So we took Funny Bōnz, we cast it locally, got a fantastic cast. I want to say there were 6 of us, maybe 7, that brought it to the Hollywood Fringe stage. And we walked out of the Hollywood Fringe Festival with the prestigious awards of the Best Cabaret and Variety Show, as well as the Encore Award, the Producer's Encore Award, which meant we got to extend the production beyond the Fringe Festival for a couple of performances. So 2 big awards out of the Fringe Festival, our first Fringe Festival, brand new show, super excited. So as restrictions began to lift even further, we decided to, and I had to recast the show again because all of these actors that were magnificent were now getting work in shows and other venues, and which is great for everybody because theaters were starting to open up all over. So we held more auditions and cast the show again. And we tried to replicate the dinner theater style that Laughing Matters was at the Grand Event Center in Long Beach. We had some great audiences. We had some decent-sized crowds. The show was very well received. The audiences loved it. Great feedback. The challenge at that time was just adding the dinner theater aspect to it, basically the food aspect. It gets a little costly, and coming out of a pandemic, we decided to be a little more conservative moving forward to make sure that the show is sustainable for us as a theater company. So we took it out of the dinner theater element, and we brought it to our new home at the Second Story Theater in Hermosa Beach. And the audiences there are eating the show up. It is basically like you're going to a stand-up comedy show with a troupe of 7, 8, 9 actors and presenting a review show, a comedy review show. And we are now up to doing it on a monthly basis in Hermosa Beach, which is fantastic. So having talked about casting Funny Bōnz, the Humerus Solution, I'd like to talk a little bit about what went into finding a cast, because it is a specific style comedy. You can't just get the hyuk musical comedy performer in this type of show being a musical comedy review. When we were casting the show, both at the Fringe Festival and starting beyond the Fringe, we really were set out to find a group of people with very diverse talents. First and foremost, because it's a musical comedy, we did require that our actors be able to sing. Do they have to be grand opera singers or Broadway caliber technique, perfect to a T? No, not at all, because this is comedy and we're not, doing Phantom of the Opera, for example. But we were looking for people that were different in appearance, different in talent abilities. And it was really an exciting process because what we have ended up with at our Funny Bōnz up until now is we've got an operatic style soprano who is hysterical as all get out. We have a tall, lanky tenor who is really great with physical comedy and just has great comedic timing. We've got it's just an array of styles of vocalists and abilities as vocalists. But the two factors that are required are being able to have a handle on the specific style of sketch comedy and being able to carry a tune or better. We've got low voices, we've got high voices, we have tall people, we have short people, we have different ethnicities in the cast, and we're always, as time goes on and we're holding more and more auditions, we're just looking to build upon that. And there are no two people in our cast that are similar in look or talent. I will say that the level of talent is very high in all of them, and we were very fortunate to have some very talented people. It's just that they're different stylistically, and that's, I think, what brings a really exciting facet to our show, is that you've got someone that can come out and sing this beautiful operatic soprano number that's funny, with funny lyrics and funny acting. But that same person can come out as a pirate with her really long hair wrapped up across her face like a mustache. So the diversity in the casting is really important and was really exciting through the casting process. So when I first had the brainstorm idea of bringing Funny Bōnz to the Hollywood Fringe Festival, I wore all the hats. I was the director, the choreographer, the musical director. I was in the show, which was a lot of fun. A lot of the material that we did in Funny Bōnz at the Fringe was brought over from Laughing Matters in Florida, so I was familiar with a lot of the material. I knew what worked. I recreated a lot of the staging and that type of thing. But I knew moving forward, once I decided and it was would be worked out that we would be able to have a recurring production of this show, I knew I wouldn't be able to carry forward with all of that because I am the artistic director of the entire theater company. So I've got a lot on my plate. One of the actors that I was able to nab to perform in our Hollywood Fringe production, it was a longtime friend of mine, Jimmy Hippensteel, who I met doing a chorus line with back in the mid-90s. And we went on to work together for several productions at a dinner theater down in Tustin. And he directed and choreographed me in a production of Evita, and we just have been really good friends for well over 20 years. So I was able to nab him for the Fringe production, and knowing that he's one of the funniest people I've ever met, both on stage and off, I approached him with possibly co-directing and choreographing Funny Bōnz moving forward for us, because he was just way too busy to actually be involved in the performances and all of that. So once we brought Funny Bōnz out beyond the Fringe Festival, he and I, at that point, started co-directing, and he really did all the choreography for all of our Funny Bōnz performances up to date. And that's where we stand as of now. So to date, we've done probably four or five performances of Funny Bōnz at the Second Story Theater in Hermosa Beach. And each performance, our audience has been growing, and the reception has always been really, really fantastic. The laughs are, it's music to our soul as actors on the stage, and I know it's music to the people in the audience, literally music, because it's a musical comedy. But because of the success and the growing success of Funny Bōnz, we are super excited to move into 2023 with some slight reimagining of the show, and I say that meaning that we're only doing things to improve the production values of the show and to enhance the experience of the patrons, to make it much more fun and exciting for the actors. And I'm going to give you a little sneak peek on what we've got coming for 2023. So, I had mentioned that my dear friend Jimmy Hippensteel and I were co-directing and co-choreographing, and I was musical directing the show up to now. Well, Jimmy is pretty much taking over as the director and choreographer of Funny Bōnz, which I'm thrilled about. We have been using music tracks for all of our music up to date. Well, we are bringing on board our resident music director, Bill Wolf, who is going to be musical directing the show and playing the show live. So we will have a live accompanist, which this style show really needs a live musician, because sometimes you get audiences that find something completely hysterical, and you just got to hold the show and let them get their laughs out. You don't want to cut them off and cut off them enjoying that moment. So we're going to have a live piano player. Super excited about that. We are increasing our cast size. We have hired 2 new cast members, and we are still looking for a couple more because we're adding numbers to the show. We are pulling out some material from the show that maybe isn't quite as funny or wasn't quite. It gets laughs, but it's like ha 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 as opposed to ha 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 ha. But it's also good to keep the show fresh, because it does spoof current events, politics, celebrity mishaps, and those things always change. So we need more material, new material. So we've got new cast members. We have a resident director choreographer. We now have a musical director for the show. We have 5 or 6 new numbers that are coming in and offsetting some of the ones we pulled out. And we are actually enhancing the space in which we are performing the show. So the Second Story Theater is a really nice little proscenium stage. It seats a maximum of 80 people, but the stage size is kind of small. It's about 9 feet deep by 26 feet wide. So what we're doing for that will be revealed at our March first performance of 2023, which will be in March. We are building platforms to extend the playing area on stage. So it's going to extend each side of the stage by 8 feet, and 8 feet wide and 6 feet out. and we are building flats that will be placed up against the upstage stage wall, and putting some type of design on it. So you're not just in there looking at a black wall in a regular old little theater. We're going to give Funny Bōnz its own special little touch. So we are super excited about all of that. It's just going to make the production values even better. I mean, the talent is top notch. That you can't really get better than the talent we have on our stage. But to just enhance those little things that make it a unique experience for our audiences, we think are really going to just bring it into 2023. We have dates booked monthly all the way through the end of the year. I started out being conservative, but with ticket sales picking up, I thought we just need to carry this out. And if we don't rent this theater space for all these dates, we're going to lose those dates, and the audiences are going to miss out on the show. When people come to see Funny Bōnz, what I want for them to experience is just joy, laughter, happiness. I want them to reflect on the absurdities of real life and see that there is humor in it. And I just want them to have a great time. I want them to be able to escape from their own personal real world for the duration of the show and just look at the absurdity, that things that might upset someone or a topic that might be questionable. Just see the humor in that and how dumb life really is. And it's just dumb in a funny way. It's just, you've got to see the humorous side of it. So I want them to get laughter and joy and maybe humming a couple of the tunes on their way home and talking about, oh my gosh, that girl with the big, huge eyes, she was hysterical. And just forget about their own world for a couple hours. As I've mentioned before, I am obsessed with sketch comedy, and it's just so fun to perform. So of course I have to be in the show. But as artistic director, I have to remind myself I didn't create this theater company to put myself on the stage, but I still got to do it. So I am in a couple numbers in the show. Both numbers actually are numbers that I performed in the original Laughing Matters in Fort Lauderdale, and they were two of my favorites. So I do those numbers. But my real role is to be there, is to really connect with the community, with the audiences, be there with the cast, and just enjoy and revel in the laughter that's surrounding me. But when I'm on stage, I've performed in several different numbers throughout the different iterations of Funny Bōnz up until now. Sometimes I've had to step in for other actors and perform in their numbers because they were sick or not able to be at a performance. So I've had the pleasure of being able to do a lot of the numbers that are in the show. And it's just so much fun. With it being a sketch comedy and alternate parody lyrics, sometimes we get to sing a lot of words that would never really be in a song, but we get to sing words like, I can't even think of any off the top of my head, but this isn't in the show, but like a word like intrauterine. That wouldn't be in a song, but stuff like that gets put into parodies and sketch comedy. So it's fun to be able to sing those words you'd never be able to sing. But truly, honestly, the real joy of being in any type of live theater production is that energy you get from the audiences and the other live actors on stage. You don't get that when you're on a film set. You've got a whole crew of people out behind the cameras that are there watching every move and every arm movement and this and that, and you don't get those immediate responses. But with a sketch comedy, which is full of laughter, sometimes we have to restrain ourselves from laughing on stage. What I love to get out of performing that is truly the laughter and the energy from the audiences, and it's all positive and humor and fun and silly. So that is why I just have to be in at least one number in the show. Theater audiences absolutely must come to see P3 Theater's production of Funny Bōnz, because if you don't, you will miss out on two of the most hysterical hours of your life. And you don't want to walk out of this realm with the coulda, woulda, shouldas. And it just really, anybody that I've ever talked to that has seen this show or its predecessors have just told how joyous of an experience it was. And here's a little secret. Because we are changing the show up on a regular basis because things in the world change, so we have to update the material, you'll probably never see the same show twice. So guess what? You can come back when your friends come into town and go, oh my gosh, there's this hysterical show that runs every month that we have to go see. I'm going to take you to see it when you come. You can bring new friends. And just come yourself. Just keep coming back yourself, and you'll see different numbers in the show. You'll see different actors sometimes because we're always hiring new actors in the cast. And so you just don't miss out on this must-do experience in life. And another reason that you have to come to Funny Bōnz is because in doing so, you are supporting a local regional theater. Nonprofit, mind you, so we do give a lot back to the community, and your patronage helps us continue to do this show as well as our main stage productions and expand on our educational division as well. Looking forward into 2023 and beyond, for Funny Bōnz, what I would love is twofold, really. I would love for us to have more performances, to be able to bring more joy to our community and to give more work to our actors. And I would also love to have a little spin-off version of Funny Bōnz where it's not in a set theater space, but where we can play different venues and take it to different communities in the Southern California area, basically everywhere from San Diego to Valencia out to Palm Springs. It would be great to have the ability to do that, where we could have multiple casts of the show performing little regional tours. Because a show like this moves very easily. It's easy to get the actors places. There's not a lot of set pieces or anything like that. And we can just bring Funny Bōnz to the entire Southland of Southern California. At P3 Theater, there has been a really unique experience with the culmination of Funny Bōnz. Wow, that was a really big word for me. In that Funny Bōnz, while it is a musical sketch comedy review show, so there are elements of singing involved and, of course, acting and comedy, it's not your standard, typical book musical or play like Jesus Christ Superstar or Death of a Salesman. It's borderline comedy club material. So we've had people come to our main stage productions, our regular musicals and plays, that have heard of Funny Bōnz, which is a little more comedy club style. And they've come to Funny Bōnz, and it wouldn't be something they would typically go to on a regular basis or even at all. And they've found a lot of enjoyment out of it. And we've had multiple patrons that are recurring, I like to say, recurring victims of the show. And on the opposite side of that, we've had people come to Funny Bōnz because it's a little more comedy club style, and they wouldn't really go see a musical or a play. That's just not their thing. They like the comedy. A lot of people think it's improv, and then they realize it's sketch comedy, and they are very similar. They're sister comedy. But then in seeing that and seeing the caliber of the production of Funny Bōnz and the comedy and joy they get out of it, they'll try to go. They'll go, this P3 Theater Company is pretty cool. Let's go see this production of Love, Valor, Compassion, or Day After Day, or whatever show is coming up next. So we're getting that cross-pollination of patrons, people who go to the comedy clubs, people go to the theater, and they're coming to both. And all in all, that's really great for us as a theater company, especially a local regional theater company, because we really are supported by our patrons. So when we get the same patrons coming back to a different style or genre of theater, they just keep coming back more and more, and it's really great to see. And we're developing great relationships with these repeat patrons because we really are in touch with the community, and that's just part of who we are, and we love it. Theater companies like P3 Theater Company and other nonprofit regional and community theaters are vital to the communities in that they do bring arts and arts education to our communities. And we wouldn't be able to do that without the support of our patrons and our community in forms such as corporate sponsorships, private sponsorships, grants, individual donations. They're all very, very vital to organizations like P3 and other local community and professional nonprofit theaters. We would not be able to bring the work we do to the community without that support. So we are certainly appreciative of all of our patrons, all of our donors, and we look forward to a long, long life in the local community. Speaking of sponsorships, which of course we always welcome, I would love to give a big shout out to the Port of Long Beach, who has been supportive of not only P3 and certain productions, but they have been a very loyal sponsor of every iteration of Funny Bōnz since we started at the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Organizations like that and individuals, like-minded individuals, philanthropists, if you will, are really the true angels of the regional nonprofit theater community. This is Jon Peterson, the Executive Artistic Director of P3 Theater Company, and I have to say, you need to get yourself to a performance of Funny Bōnz, the Humerus Solution, because if you don't, shame, shame, shame on you. You will not know what you missed, and you don't want to go through life having missed this.